Hello and welcome back to Time Under Tension. I'm your host, Olivia Gravengard, registered nurse, professional bodybuilder, and certified health coach. And I help people achieve their health and wellness goals, optimize their lifestyle so they can achieve excellence in every area of life, starting from wellness from the inside out. And this week, we're going to be talking about stress management. This is a phrase that is so used that we almost don't even hear it when we run across it. Stress management, balance, it's these words that I think hold so much importance, but because we dilute them with such frequency of use without actual intentionality backing up the habits that we are actually implementing in these areas and without consistency, I think that it's a shame because we end up missing out on the value of really addressing this area, stress management. What does it even mean to manage stress? Like most of the time when I talk about stress management, I run into clients who admittedly express that their lifestyle is quite stressful with a bit of a shrug. Like, this is just what it is. Like, I know it's a problem, and everyone tells me that because my lifestyle is so stressful, it's going to impact my hormones and my sleep and my ability to achieve my health and wellness goals. It's so common knowledge now that we associate cortisol with belly fat, that's very commonly discussed. And yet there's kind of this collective shrug around it because what can you do? If we look at our lifestyle in this modern age, it is almost inherently stressful. Things are extremely busy and life moves quickly, and we have media sources just spewing negativity, and there's political unrest, and kids are stressed out and overwhelmed by the impacts of bullying and social media and rapid changes in societal norms on top of the chemical warfare that we are engaged in regards to our food and our environmental exposures. Sometimes it can just be absolutely disheartening. And in the clinic that I work in, which is very wellness focused and oriented towards proactive, preventative healthcare, I meet people every single day who are so jaded with our system, not just from a healthcare perspective, but just in general, how we live in this world where it's all very backwards and we're all running as fast as we can just to keep our heads above water. And it can be so frustrating and exhausting. So when you approach stress management, I feel like it's really important to first acknowledge these obstacles, what can feel like a daunting mountain in front of us, and to just say, you need to manage your stress better feels like oversimplifying and not giving people credit for the amount of work that they're doing to just get by. So first off, I want to give credit where it's due. Like if you are showing up each day and trying to be a good person and raise healthy children and treat others nicely and pay your taxes and uphold a job, like good work, good freaking work. You're doing awesome. So give yourself credit there. Developing a stress management system or a lifestyle in which your stress is well managed and you have the tools to deal with stressors as they come up isn't about giving you one more thing to do. It's about giving you a stronger platform on which to stand so that as life comes at you, you feel confident and can maintain a sense of peace as you navigate the waves. It's like really learning to flow with life. And I think that's the perspective that has resonated most with me in regards to stress management is being like a surfer. Like, can you take the waves as they come and learn to ride them and learn to also sink within the lull between and to find a flow there? and to trust that the waves just come as they do. There's not a it's not something we should anxiously anticipate as if stress is looming at our door and we just have to be on high alert at any given moment that the other shoe could drop as soon as things feel good in life. Like, then we're keeping ourselves in a constant state of stress. But instead, to know like life will be hard sometimes and life will not be as hard sometimes, period. And we can kind of leave it there. So, what can we do to support ourselves to be healthy and to navigate that in the most effective way possible? And that's really where stress management comes in. Now, again, we're talking about this vague, overarching concept of stress management. So, I do think it's important to kind of dig into what that even means. Stress is not inherently a bad thing. We've talked about this before, but you need stress to grow. When we think about training, you need to put your muscles under stress if you want to grow. If you don't, there's no impetus to grow. If you don't break down your muscle and teach your muscle, hey, at your current state, your current size, you're not able to lift anymore, and you aren't challenging them to that point, there's no reason to adapt. There's no reason to say, oh, shoot, I was broken. Now I need to come back stronger. And so I really like to think about life like that as well, that everything is character development. Like, any challenge that comes my way, I'm like, this is teaching me something that I need to know. And anything that comes up that's challenging about this is reflecting back to me something that I need to work on so that I can have a more positive, fulfilling, effective experience moving forward. And I've found that that is the fundamental basis, along with one other belief, to my like stress management system, or really, I would say the mindset that I carry into this life to be able to navigate life's challenges. The other aspect of that mindset that I find absolutely vital, and I think this is something that you have to establish for yourself and decide if it resonates with you or whatever language does. There's kind of two phrases that I say. One is that the universe is always conspiring in my favor. That goes back to the book Alchemist, which is one of my absolute favorite books. It's absolutely beautiful. I highly recommend. It's a just captivating story that's laced with philosophical truth and spiritual ideas that can really help expand your mind. So the universe is conspiring in my favor, and that God is working all things together for good. Okay. So those are the things that I think about. It's like, okay, any challenge that comes up is for my good. It's to develop my character, which is my primary goal in this life, is to develop my character so that I can be a bigger love light, that I can love better, that I can show up for people more effectively. So I think what's important about get building a stress management system is that you start from fundamental beliefs that drive your perception of stress and your self-evaluation of your ability to manage and even thrive through stress. At first, you're gonna feel potentially, if you've never done this before, like you're lying to yourself. You'll be saying these things and you're like, I don't believe it. It's like saying mantras. I know a lot of people get frustrated with that. Like, you want to stand in the mirror and say these positive things, and sometimes you just feel like you're bullshitting yourself. And I get it. No one wants to feel that way. But on the other hand, the things that you currently believe are things that you've played on repeat over and over again. So if you really want to have a better experience, you're going to have to do the same thing, and you might as well replace those thoughts with ones that actually serve you and create a better experience. I find that believing that things are working together for good, that there is a positive, loving source at the center of life, and that I am being shaped for my good, that those beliefs are vital for me to be able to navigate life in the most effective way. I've tried different ways. I've tried kicking myself uphill and saying, like, you got to be better, you got to do more, you're not doing enough. I've done that. I think you can get pretty far with that, but I will say personally, I did not enjoy the experience of life that I was having. Even as I was experiencing success, I lived in that state of it's never enough. And so, although I was doing a lot and achieving a lot externally, I never felt fulfilled. Now I'm still achieving a lot and doing a lot externally, and I'm doing so with a heck of a lot more joy and passion for life. So this works for me. Take it or leave it. I'm going to kind of leave it there because I think the spirituality discussion is one that I could go on forever. It's not really what we're talking about today, but it is kind of actually what we're talking about today because the way that you look at the world is going to shape your ability to handle stress. Now, if you like to look at this from a purely biological standpoint, have at it. We can go there too. So, like I said, stress challenges us to adapt on a biological level, we have these systems in place in our bodies that allow us to respond effectively to short-term stressors. You hear the common example, like if you're being chased by a lion, you need your adrenaline, you need cortisol to all kick in so that you can react effectively, so that you're not having to run everything through your brain and your thought processes and say, oh, okay, well, is this a lion? Is this a friendly lion? Should I run? Should I stay? Should I negotiate? Is it hungry? Does it actually see me? Like you need to be able to just go reflexively, right? So you need all those systems to be able to kick in. So we need it. We need stress to grow and we need to challenge our bodies to actually be able to get us into a state of stress and to navigate that state of stress effectively. So those are what the things that happen physiologically. Now, what we run into in terms of challenges with the system is that it really wasn't developed for us to be in a constant state of stress all of the time. Can we? Yes. Can we do so without consequence? No. Like, if you're going to keep your body in a state of stress, the building blocks that you use to manage stress and to create stress hormones are the same building blocks that you use to create sex hormones. So if you are going to put yourself in a state of stress where you're not sleeping enough and you work 14 hours a day and you are at odds with your spouse and you don't have a great social network and you eat a lot of fast food because you just don't have time to cook and you don't really get up from your desk, well, you probably are going to have some issues. You might stress your heart out. You might start to see autoimmune disorders as you live in this constant state of self-compromise. You might begin to see like hormone downregulation, your testosterone crashes, fertility is lower. You experience inflammation in your blood vessels, and that leads to plaque deposits. We see heart attacks, we see strokes, like, okay, on and on and on, right? And that's where we often just get so frustrated again with this conversation because it's like, great, you're telling me don't live in a state of stress. I live in a world that is inherently stressful. And then you're saying, well, if you decide to live in stress, you're going to kill yourself. And it's like a catch 22, right? And I think it's important to take it to the next level and say, look, life is really stressful. If you have 10 different things that are contributing to stress in your life, what can you do to reduce that load to get your body out of a stress state? If you need to be stressed out for 4 hours of the day to be effective at what you do, maybe that's true. Maybe you have a very inherently stressful job. Maybe you are a little bit higher anxiety person. Like that's all possible, right? But that means it's your responsibility to develop a system of stress management, meaning that you're taking time in your day to de-stress, that you are implementing strategies, mindsets, practices that help you come out of that state of stress and get back into like a parasympathetic state. So our nervous system runs the show. It's our brain, it's our spinal cord, it's our nerves, right? That's directing the system, it's saying, okay, we're going to send signals throughout the body and kind of keep everything running. You have those two primary states, sympathetic, which is like your fight or flight, you're activated, and parasympathetic, which is your rest and digest, you're calm, you're at peace. That's where we can kind of chill and let our systems run on autopilot. Well, because we live in this state of stress, we keep ourselves in that sympathetic state. We're always very activated. We're pumping out a lot of adrenaline and cortisol. Digestion is going to be deprioritized. Fertility is going to be deprioritized. Our ability to connect openly with others won't be as effective because we're not in that state. We're in a state of like do, accomplish, run, achieve. And that's something that is also perpetuated by our societal values. So this is like the hamster wheel that we end up on because physiologically we can do that. We can make ourselves do that. And then we are socially rewarded for that behavior. And then that social system that we have created and keep in motion is kind of running faster than we can even catch up to it and keeping us in that state. Like if I do not keep moving faster and doing more, I will be left behind. So it's up to us to take responsibility and say, yeah, this is what's happening. Dang, that's a bummer. What am I going to do to create balance? Period. It's your responsibility. You have to take responsibility. The alternative is not, and to constantly live in a state of stress and to just kind of shrug your shoulders again and give up and say, well, I guess I'm just going to be stressed out forever. And it's like, well, I don't know about you, but I plan to live a very impactful and successful life. And I do not believe that I can do that if I'm living in a constant state of stress. I need room to be creative. I need room to rest. I need to make sure that I'm digesting well. I need to make sure that I'm recovering from my training effectively. I need to make sure that I'm offloading from the emotional burdens that I carry as I serve other people. I need to take time to reflect on my performance and make adjustments to my plan. Those steps are just as vital and as much a part of my responsibility and my system of discipline as the work, as the grind, as the go, do, achieve, be more, do more. It is. And I'm a more effective leader. I'm a more effective partner. I'm a more effective friend, more effective coach when I create balance. But I have to take responsibility for that. So there's your foundation. What are your beliefs driving your perception of stress and what stressors are, your ability to handle those stressors, and then can you take responsibility for being the one person who can implement the strategies that you need to create balance? If you can agree to that and move out of that, now you can talk about your system. So there's lots of tools for stress management. I think for me, and probably biased here, knowing my background, movement is huge. I think we need to get away from our computers and our desks and go move our bodies. We store a lot of stress and trauma in our fascia, and we need to be moving our bodies and getting blood flowing and helping kind of flush all that out. We need to be hydrating well also to kind of flush out everything that we're exposed to. We need to be nourishing our bodies to give our bodies the building blocks of repair, to support brain function, to keep digestion moving. All of that is foundational. There's also lots of different stress management techniques. I personally like journaling. I find that it really helps me to be like a verbal or written processor. I also think that music can be really helpful and just being intentional about what you're filling your mind with when it comes to that kind of media. Listening to things that really make you feel full and happy and light, maybe even like wordless music sometimes. You can take that to another level and do things like sound healing, sound baths, like really using tones that resonate with the nervous system and help calm it. There's so much research on meditation, and I think there's a really great book called 1% Happier that opened my mind a lot to meditation, and it comes from someone who really had a lot of resistance to it. So if you're just not sure about it, I highly recommend just checking that book out. And I think mindfulness in general. So meditation is more so that you're maybe taking time to sit or lie down and kind of letting your mind be open. You can do guided meditations. There are some great apps like Insight Timer that have even as quick as like 5-minute meditations. One of my favorite types is Yoga Nidra, which is this progressive relaxation where you scan your body and relax it incrementally. Mindfulness is more so being grounded in the present moment. And this is one of my most favorite forms of stress management, where I take a simple task that is necessary, like doing the dishes, and I slow myself down to like half speed. And I really feel things. I feel the dish in my hand. I feel what the soap is like on my fingers. I stop and look at my hands and check in. So, really, just taking time to get engaged with life in the moment because a lot of times stress is very reflexive and kind of drives us more quickly into the future. So if we can be really present in the moment, we can slow the moment down, and that helps get us out of that state of stress. It's telling our nervous system, I'm here, I'm safe, I'm grounded, I'm present, and I'm in my body. And the safest place you could ever be in this existence is grounded in your body. And that is something we don't always act out of. How do you implement these tools though? You know, I gave you a few. We have like meditation, mindfulness, breath work is great as well. I love like 4-7-8 breathing, or you can do box breathing and just taking a few minutes. And I think that's where I like to start with implementation is like starting with one time a day, doing something that's reducing stress. So another way to do this is to anchor it to a habit that you already have in place. One way I've done this recently to implement more consistent breath work was to add in 5 minutes of 4-7-8 breathing at the end of my workout, where I do my legs up the wall and I do 4-7-8 breathing for 5 minutes. And I set my timer and I do not open my eyes for 5 minutes. And during that time, I actually listen to a voice memo that I created that's like just encouraging me in how I want to show up for the day. So that's just a ritual and just creating these little mini rituals. On other days, like a rest day, you could take a longer amount of time, like 30 minutes, to do a long meditation. Or you could find a yoga studio nearby that even has like yin classes or breathwork classes where you can do it in a more class format where you have that kind of external accountability and you can go somewhere to do it. But I do find that these more like little bursts of stress management technique implementation throughout the day tend to be more accessible for most of us. Taking a larger chunk of your day is awesome if you can hold yourself to it, but I sometimes think that it creates too big of a goal that can be create this like all or nothing mindset of like, oh, well, I missed my chance today. And it's like, yeah, but could you take a minute to do some breathing? How often can you touch the parasympathetic state? And start to think of it like that. Like, how often can I just touch it? Not like I have to do this whole assignment and it becomes a stressor, but like, can I get myself back into a parasympathetic state more often throughout my day? So those are some strategies. I also find that the last hour of my day is the most important. It shapes the way that I sleep. It shapes my mindset going into sleep, and then it that also bleeds into the mental state that I'm in when I wake up for the next day. So I really take the last hour of my day to be off of technology, to journal or play music, something that's very calming and brings my nervous system down into that very calm, stress-free, safe space. I drink my Kill Switch, which is my like nighttime hot chocolate that helps me sleep, and I journal and I turn the lights down and have just like a dim lamp on and I just rest. I rest. And sometimes resting means brain dumping, sometimes it means writing poetry, sometimes it means just listening to like handpan music, but I really take that time to just de-stress at the end of the day. Some of your common obstacles is that it's going to be put on the back burner. So I really want you to take this mindset that you have of being a disciplined person to your idea of what it means to be consistent with rest. We want to be disciplined, we want to be effective, and we want to be hardworking and successful, but we don't apply that to rest as if it's as valuable. So I think it's really important to kind of take that skill set that you already naturally have and be just as diligent in your implementation of stress management strategies where you're making it happen. Make it happen. You're the only one who can. And the sooner that you take responsibility for your ability and need to create balance in your life and to manage your stress and to get your body into that state of like parasympathetic rest and digest activation, then I think the more effective you're going to be in your life. So you're robbing from your capacity if you're not taking responsibility for this. So you really have to just do it. To steal the phrase, just do it. I mean, really, the obstacles are so many because it's just going to be excuses. It's going to be a million reasons why not. And guess what? anyone's going to tell you, oh, yeah, that's fair. Like, oh, well, my kid had a game and, I had to do this extra project at work and blah, 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 blah. And anyone's going to be like, oh, yeah, dude, I hear you. I know it's just crazy. But like you're stealing from yourself. So are you going to make it happen or not? Like that's the reality of the situation. And I say it that directly because that's how I have to be with myself. I can sit here all day and give a million reasons why I need to stay up until 10 and work that long every single day and grind and just be on my computer from sun up to sundown and then feel run down and then start to feel resentful that I never get time to myself. And it's like, whose fault is that? Is mine. I'm not taking 5 minutes. I'm not carving out the time in my day to go work out. I'm not setting boundaries on my screen time. I'm not turning off blue lights at 9 p.m. Like, I have to take responsibility for it. And the sooner I started doing that, the more I started feeling like I actually was in charge of my life. And then I'm excited to get back into my work because I kind of cut myself short before I fully dump out all my ability for the day. I say, oh, I could work another hour. And I go, it's time. It's time to cut it off. And I have to trust that I'm going to be more effective at that work if I take the time to rest. And so just starting to ingrain that and to practice repeating those things to yourself as you shift the way that you're thinking about this is so incredibly important. Now, I'm talking about being successful with your stress management strategies, but what does it mean? How do you even measure that success? How are you showing up? How do you notice people are reacting to you? I find that when I'm in a state of stress, I start to see people around me approach me more cautiously. I start to notice that people apologize for like interrupting me. I notice that people aren't really looking to me for advice or don't want to call me when they're having a hard time. Um, I notice that they're quieter because I'll usually like go off about something, and that's helpful for me. And I also like to reflect, and this is part of my stress management strategy, but I like to reflect on my day. How did I show up in my interactions? Did I have any interactions that left me feeling like a bad taste in my mouth, like, I could have been better at that. And not in a way that inspires shame, but in a way that just shows me that I'm probably not fully fueled or checking the boxes that I need to be my best self because I didn't feel good about my interaction today. And that's okay. I'm just really glad to know that so that I can get back into a more of a state of balance. So, those are kind of success strategies for me. Now, there's other ways you can more tangibly assess recovery. We've talked about resting heart rate and HRV. Those are ways, obviously, if your hormones become more balanced over time and digestion improves, those are going to be signs as well. I just find that a big metric for me is how am I showing up in my relationships? And some of that is not just relationships like interpersonally, but relationships to God, relationship to work, my relationship to myself. Like, is my self talk really negative? It's probably because I'm not taking care of myself very well. When I start to show up for myself, I feel a lot better and proud of myself. So, those are the ways that I like to measure it. But I think that's an area that requires some reflection so you can really decide what that means to you. So, stress management, it's a deep, deep topic, and we will continue to touch on this moving forward. But I would really love to know in your life, has there been a time where you felt like you didn't manage your stress very well? And have you found that there are certain strategies that you implement in order to be more effective at stress management? Also, kind of think about this week. How could I be more effective in other areas of my life if I was a lower stress person? If I was able to stay more regulated and balanced, and if I had time to decompress and really reset my nervous system so that I could come back fresh every single day. Thank you guys so much for watching and or listening. It is truly an honor to get to pour into your life, and I'm so glad we get to do this journey together. Please remember to like, subscribe, comment. I'd love to interact with you. If you want to reach out, you have any questions, any stories you'd love to share, please just message me. I'll put my email below, or you can comment below on YouTube, and I will catch you guys next time on Time Under Tension.